Wade and Wade Reacts.
We're about to check out a video by Kakarot titled All Gundams of the 1 Year War and Their Pilots. Let's get into it.
During the 1 Year War, there was only one word that would strike fear into the hearts of the Zeon soldiers: Gundam. Better known to many of them as the White Devil. The single mobile suit that seemed to be capable of turning the tide of the entire war. The single mobile suit that was the crowning jewel of the Federation's technology. The single mobile suit that Zeon could not defeat no matter how hard they tried. The single... Okay, look, you've seen how long this video is. Despite the Gundam's legendary status as the machine that saved the Federation during the 1 Year War, both in and out of the universe,
I know it's the original Gundam, but that's probably one of the coldest Gundam designs to me.
Has become a lot more than just a singular machine, and new ones are still being added. So today, I'll be listing all of the 1 Year War's Gundams and their most famous pilots. Starting off with the three originals. The RX-781 prototype Gundam, which was the actual first Gundam and was piloted by test pilot Farrell Ihop. Unfortunately, this thing got destroyed after Zeon raided Site 7, with the RX-782 simply known as the Gundam, because it became the most famous mobile suit of the Federation, even overshadowing the fame of its pilot Amuro Ray. And while it is fair to say that it was initially the Gundam carrying Amuro, by the end of the war, it was very much the opposite, with Zeon pushing out units that were on par or even better than the RX-782.
For real.
Yet, Amuro was able to overcome them with relative ease. So, unsurprisingly, he became the number 2 Federation ace with 142 mobile suit and 9 ship kills.
Dang, he was going off.
The then would become known as the G3 and would mainly be used as a testbed for new technologies. For example, the magnet coating, a treatment for the joints of mobile suits that drastically increased their reaction time. This would later on also be applied to the RX-72 and other machines. Depending on the timeline then, we either don't know who the G3 pilot was during the 1 Year War, or it was the machine that Amuro used during the second half of the war. And this numbering scheme then
those look good
continue
too.
with the RX-784 and RX-785 Gundams. Two mostly identical units with mostly identical weapons and equipment.
Yeah, color scheme is different, that's about it.
The Hyper Beam Rifle and the Space Use Booster equipment. Where they differed was their signature weapon. The G4 was made to test out the Mega Beam Launcher and therefore got a more powerful reactor with a stronger cooling solution, whereas the G5 got a giant Gatling gun. And their pilots were Lewis Castle and Fort Longfellow, respectively. A less successful Gundam then was the RX-786 Mudrock Gundam. A Gundam designed to fix the Gundam's
That's a decent looking one right there. Not the best.
Yeah, I don't too much like it.
Unit, it lacked firepower and armor, so they turned it into a gun cannon instead. And while I do like the gun cannon, there's a reason why the gun cannon didn't become known as the Federation's Red Devil.
Oh, he was going in his gun cannon.
Its pilot was Agar, who unfortunately didn't do the Mudrock any favors either.
So did he appear in the manga first or the video game?
That's a good question.
And the final numbered Gundam was the RX-787 Gundam, also known as the 7th Gundam. Despite
That design is a little bit sleeker
actually
than the other
being
ones. I like that one too.
Gundam, but anyways, and on top of that, you could also debate whether or not this classifies as a one-year Gundam, because despite its construction beginning during the war, it wouldn't be completed until sometime after the war, when it would be piloted by Sherry Allison. But throughout the war then, various side projects would pop up, resulting in more Gundams being produced, with one of the more famous side projects being the Full Armor Project, a project designed to fix the Gundam's main flaws. As an agile mid to close range unit, it lacked firepower and armor, so it is
the definition of insanity is insanity is doing the exact same fucking thing over and over again, expecting shit to change. That is crazy.
a pursuit that originally led to the PF-781
I like that one.
Gundam.
It's not bad.
Completely over the
that's
top
cool, too,
machine
the backstory
that was
behind it.
originally made for a manga about Gunpla, but later on somehow got adopted into the MSV series.
If I was in a 1 year's
making
war,
it
I'd definitely
somewhat official.
want a
But
Gundam with all those
even
attachments.
in this official setting, it was never actually made and just served as a concept for the actual full armor Gundam, the FA-78-1. It got missile launchers, a twin beam cannon, a rocket cannon, and extra armor, complemented by an array of extra thrusters in the hopes of offsetting all of this added bulk. It didn't, which is also why two very different stories exist surrounding this machine. In one version, the Federation realized the failure of this project and the machine was never built. Whereas in the other one, it was built and was piloted by Heinz Baer, the Federation's number 7 ace with 37 mobile suit and 2 ship killers.
Guess this is not canon then.
But despite
Sounds
maybe
like
not
it.
existing,
May not be.
it did get further developed into 3 different units. One was the B-type after the war, which also may or may not have existed. Another one was the Full Armor Gundam ground type, which tried to address some of the full armor's flaws by giving it less armor and weapons so that it would be more agile, like the RX-72 was. This thing was scrapped while it was still just a simulation. This thing was scrapped
Dang.
while it was still just a simulation. And the third one then did get made. The FA-782 Heavy Gundam, piloted by Den Berserk. The Federation finally found the sweet spot between weapons, armor, and mobility.
I wish they
that
could have actually
were
built
so
the perfect
desperately
Gundam, though.
looking for.
But I guess
And on top of that, the unit was also
guess they couldn't do it. You know,
outfitted
you're looking
with
to
the
be
brand
realistic,
new
you gotta
and extremely
lighten some of that
sexy
load.
frame launcher. After the war then, a second unit would be produced that was outfitted with a very unique shield. And it would also be further developed into the Gunner Gundam, but again, this was after the war. An actual true upgrade for the RX-78-2 then would come in the form of the RX-78
Now that's cool.
NT1 Gundam NT1, better known as the Alex. As Amuro was awakening to its new type powers, the RX-78-2 was becoming increasingly incapable of keeping up with its reflexes. And because the Federation simply didn't have
That's
new
crazy.
type know-how that Xeon
when the
did,
suit can't keep up with your
they
reflexes, you
tried to
know
do
that
the
a new
best
type
they
is not
could
somebody you
with
want to
the
meet in
technology
the battlefield.
they had. They created the strongest mobile suit they could with a focus on lightning-fast response times, resulting in a mobile suit that was as deadly as it was difficult to pilot. And just to be sure, the machine got a set of trouble armor because nothing screams mobility like extra bulk. And even a concept for a full armor version was drawn up, but fortunately this never made it past the simulation stages. Unless you follow the Gundam Katana manga. Unfortunately then, the machine wouldn't make it to Amuro and would instead be used by test pilot Christina McKenzie.
And what happened to
And
her?
depending on how much
Too.
further you want to look than the anime, we can also find
For the Gundam
one
fans,
or
tell us what
two
happened to her.
prototypes for the Alex.
Maybe you
One
have to
is
read the
very
manga to
simply
figure
called
out.
the NT1
Yeah, I'm
Proto,
pretty sure you do. I'm just
and
wondering what happened to her,
The
though.
difference with the regular NT1 is its color scheme, which is now based on that of the
Oh,
Gems.
that's kind of sweet.
This machine would be used for data gathering purposes. And the other one comes from a manga that is still being published. The
It looks like that's her right there, right?
Not to be confused with the RX-78-4 Gundam Unit 4. This machine would also be tested out by Christina McKenzie.
Oh, so she's still alive,
Another
testing out
sensible
new suits.
upgrade for the RX-72 then, which was also rumored to be meant for Amuro, was the Pixie Gundam. Playing to the
Amuro
strengths
couldn't
of
get
the
his hands on none of the new
RX-72,
suits.
The Pixie was made to be as light as possible for maximum agility. 3 units were made.
That ain't bad.
But unfortunately, just as with the Alex, the unit meant for Amuro never made it to him. Instead, it was piloted by Bork Cry, with other famous Pixie pilots being Fred Raber and Lilith Iden, who used a customized version with more armor and heavier weapons, turning it into a more all-rounder machine. And while 3 units produced might sound like a lot for a single Gundam type, this was still nothing compared to the 20 Gundam ground types that were produced
Dang.
halfway to 1 Year War. With Zeon still having the upper hand, and still no dedicated mass production mobile suits of their own, the Federation's ground forces were scrambling to produce anything that could stand up to the Zeon Zaku's. This led to limited production of the gun cannon, but also led to the creation of the Gundam ground type, a ground-use-only mobile suit that was cobbled together with spare parts from the original RX-78 units, and also new parts to hold everything together. And for being what they were, their performance was actually on par with that of the originals. There was only one problem. And no, this time it wasn't a full armor version. The ground-type Gundams had extremely limited spare parts because they were the spare parts. And on top of that, as the best weapons around at that time,
The jetpack
they
attachments,
were
bro.
rushed to the
Yeah.
most heavily contested front lines where they wanted these machines to be active as much as possible. So this situation led to a lot of ground Gundams receiving non-standard field repairs, like the affectionately named Gym Head used by Karen Joshua, or ad hoc upgrades like the Slave Wraith Custom used by Travis Kirkland, who later upgraded it to a full armor version, because fuck it, why not? Or the Gundam Re-Rage used by Ralph Zapka of the Red Giant 3rd MS team, a team that also used heavily customized ground gyms. Or, in other cases, both would happen at the same time, like with the Easy-8. Shiro Amada's ground type got heavily damaged in the fight against the Apsaros II, so in addition to fixing it up, they also made some choice upgrades to the machine while they were at it. Things like extra armor and better antennas.
Extra armor is always
Or
good.
a few units were also used for highly unethical new type experiments, better known as the Blue Destiny units. In an attempt to get normal humans to perform on the same level as new types, Dr. Clust Moses developed the exam system. And once the Federation got their hands on this system, they first tested it out on a modified gym ground type called the Blue Destiny Unit 0. But it was deemed to be not powerful enough as a base unit for this powerful system, so instead, it was transferred to a customized Gundam ground type. To save time though, the head of the gym, which contained the main components for the exam system, was simply transplanted as is. This unit would become known as Blue Destiny Unit 1, and after a successful trial run, 2 more units would be produced, this time with a Gundam head and some other small
He looks real
changes.
cool with the Gundam head.
These units were appropriately named Gundam Blue Destiny Unit 2 and 3, and were identical to each other except for the color scheme and the settings of their exam system. Originally, Unit 2 was meant as the combat unit, and Unit 3 was meant as the spare unit. But circumstances would see both
I'm guessing the
mobile
pilot of that
suits
was a
on
new
opposite
type.
sides of the front line.
I don't know.
Because how's he going
And
Super
according to a
Saiyan?
certain manga, Blue Destiny Unit
But it
1
said it
itself
was meant
would
to
also
give
be
the average
upgraded
pilot the
and
abilities of a
turned
new
into
type.
different configurations. One was the Blue Destiny Unit 1 Stealth, which
Yeah, the cape is
focused
over.
on stealth by giving the machine new sensors,
The cloak must have some type
a
of
special stealth
camouflage
cape,
capabilities.
all of which was first tested out on the
Otherwise,
Gem
it's just a
Stealth.
useless cape.
And the other one was
Batman
the
in the
Blue
Gundam
Destiny
universe.
Unit 1 full armed. Rather than trying to deck it out in armor, the machine only got a few armor upgrades and would instead mainly receive new weapons, like a trial version of the Gun Cannon 2's beam cannon, the ground-type missile launchers, and 2 sets of
That's
the
smart.
twin
Less
beam
armor,
cannons used by
more
the
weapons.
Gem Dominance. This equipment would then later on be
Can't do
carried
both.
over
I mean,
to
you
Blue
can,
Destiny
but your
Unit 3,
mobile suit is going to be
resulting
extremely
in the
slow.
Blue Destiny Unit 3 full armed. Unit 0 was piloted by Claire Kilmer, Unit 1 and 3 by Yu Kajima from the Guinea Pig team, and Unit 2 was stolen and subsequently piloted by Nimbus Sturzen. And the most recent
People are
addition
always
to the
stealing
Ground
tech
Gundam
in
variants
Gundam.
then is the Slife Rail from UC Engage. It was heavily modified with covert operations in 4C areas in mind, and it also conveniently changes the Ground Gundam's original setting from exactly 20 units being produced to over 20 units being produced. And the final true Gundam then is the RX-78 Gundam Real Type. But despite being called real, it only appeared in a computer simulation at the tail end of the 1-year war.
Should be called virtual
Not
type
because this
then.
was a failed unit or something, but because that's what it was meant to be. A computer simulation to gather more information on the Gundam and where to go from here. Like, I wonder
That's smart.
if this led to the full armor project, or if this was a response to the failed full armor project. But finally then, for the mainline Universal Century, we also have 2 units that are called Gundams, which are actually conversions from other machines. A bald pilot by the name of Yumon Samon claims that he modified his ball with a Gundam face and that he actually managed to book great results in it. One time, it was also spotted, and Zeon falsely believed that this giant Gundam head was connected to an equally large Gundam body, supposedly leading to the development of the equally large Perfect Zeon to fight against the supposed giant Gundam.
Dang, they were that scared that they
More
built a
realistic,
suit
then,
in response to
was
something that didn't even exist.
RAG-71G1 Gundam Marine Type, also known as the Waterproof Gundam or
I could
a
tell that
Gundam.
looked that was an underwater suit.
And as its model number indicates, this was actually a heavily customized and upgraded Aqua Gem, which was then rechristened as a Gundam, also making it the first in-universe example of the question, how much do you have to modify a gem before it becomes a Gundam? Unfortunately though, despite being a unit for ace pilots, its story is very much the same as the Aqua Gem. With underwater combat being less important, we barely have any combat records of these machines, and the one that we do know of is from UC 0096. Where it did put up a good fight, but it was no match for the more advanced Zezulus used by
Dang,
the
he got
Sleeves.
tore up.
And talking about the gyms, I did forget a few of them in my all gyms of the 1-year war video, with the most egregious one being the Gym Spartan, which is actually one of my more favorite gyms out there. It is a development of the Gym Command and would serve as a prototype for the later Jim Sniper 2. Although, unlike its successor, the Jim Spartan would mostly focus on close-range combat and was deployed mostly in jungle environments, which is also why their standard color is moss green. Its most well-known pilot is Captain Gray, and a customized version would be infamously used by Renato Jeremy, the leader of the Black Dog team. Its head was upgraded with a Gundam-grade antenna and
I don't think we see
sensors,
pistols too much
and its mobility was
in the
also
anime.
slightly improved. Going back to the original Jim Spartan then, in its first appearance, a unit called the Jim Scout was also mentioned, but until someone pointed it out, I never noticed that it was also present in the picture. So, at least for me, its camouflage worked. Unfortunately, that is all the information we have on this thing. It looks like a Jim Command that has been upgraded with a better main camera and got an extra antenna on the back of its head, all presumably to make it a better scouting unit. Something some people then also commented about was the Jim Kakarot, which is actually just a pre-production
That pilot is into the
Jim
action.
that was supposed to be identical to the standard Jim, despite its different
That's
model
cool.
number. Now, it does get some unique capabilities later on, but as an SD game with parallel worlds, this thing clearly does not belong in the main timeline. And its most famous pilot is you, the player. And talking about unofficial machines, there's also the Jim Diver from Kondo Kazuhisa's Vanishing Machine manga. A different take on the Aqua Jim that was developed at around the same time, and actually reminds me a bit of the Jim Marine type that was used in Gundam Thunderbolt.
Oh, yeah, they are similar
And then
in their
just
design.
after the Jim video, let's quickly talk about the alternate universes for completionist's sake. In Gundam Thunderbolt, we get a very different and much more successful take on the full armor Gundam. It had an overwhelming amount of weaponry, extra body armor, and
My favorite
shields
Gundam.
instead
Yeah, that
of
gun, that's one of the coldest ones to me, too.
combined with a powerful backpack and extra thrusters that were able to compensate adequately for the added bulk.
And they had the right pilot for that
All
suit,
this then
too.
resulted in an extremely powerful machine that was piloted to great success by E.O. Fleming. The Gundams from the origin, meanwhile, stuck closer to their mainline counterparts, with a lot of them either being similar or almost completely identical, just in a different style. Units like the Full Armor Gundam, Heavy Gundam, Gundam Marine type, and the RX-78-02, which can now also equip a back-mounted cannon. Slightly more different then are the RX-78-01 prototype Gundam and the RX-78-02 Gundam rollout colors. The first one has a visor and armor more similar to the finalized Gundam and is piloted by Lieutenant Words, and the second one takes elements from the rollout versions of both the RX-78-1 and 2 from the mainline. Completely different then is the Gundam local type line, a predecessor unit to the Gundam ground type, which, according to this official development timeline, does exist in the origin timeline as
That's too
well.
much mess to keep
The
up
first
with.
unit of this local type then was constructed with spare parts of the RX-78-01 and was made for testing the Gundam's performance on Earth. Later on then, this unit would be repainted in blue and white.
Way
and
too
was
much
used for
information.
underwater testing.
You already got the
The
UC
second
timeline.
unit
Then you
is
got
also rumored to have existed,
branch
but was
timelines to the
never
UC
officially acknowledged
timeline.
by the Federation.
that's
This
crazy.
unit was painted in much darker colors and was nicknamed the Gundam Local Type North American Type. And while we don't know who the pilot was, it was said that this unit performed extremely well and was feared by the Zeon troops on the North American front. Feedback of both local types would then be used to develop the Gundam FSD, or the Gundam Full-Scale Development, essentially a proposed mass production version of the Gundam. And in the origin timeline, it would be this unit that served as the basis for the Full Armored Gundam and Heavy Gundam. And
I wish some of these
finally,
suits would actually
we
appear in the
have a unit
series.
that may or may not be in its own version of the Universal
Yeah, I like this
Century.
one too.
The Gundam from Requiem for Vengeance. And, well, that is literally everything we know about this thing at the moment that I'm making this video. So, this is where it
I wonder
is
if,
for
I wonder
all
if
Gundams
at this point they
that
released any more
appeared
information
during the 1
about
year
that particular
war.
Gundam.
But if you think that I forgot an important one, let me know down below and I will have it listed in the top comment.
Shout out to whoever made it to the end of this video. It's a pretty long video. But this was interesting to learn because I didn't know there was that many Gundams in the 1 Year's War. I knew about Amaru and the MS team, and then the War in the Pocket, but that's all I thought that it, man, I know it was other ones, but I didn't think it was that many.
Yeah, they produced as many Gundams as Zeon produced Zaku's, it seems like. Like you said, I didn't know that they went there hard when it came to the mass production of Gundams. Plus, this is so hard to keep up with because they're not featured in the series. You got to do a lot of reading, and you have to be a super fan to know all of the Gundams and to know if he missed some of them.
Yeah, you gotta be reading the manga, playing the video games, or if you don't want to do that, just read the wikis and the guidebooks. But for the fans of Gundam, if you were in the 1 Year's War, would you want to be a space pilot? Would you want to be on in a ground unit, or would you want to be an underwater unit? For me, I want to fight on the earth. I don't want to be in space or under the water, so I'll probably be a ground unit.
Yeah, I think the ground type would be the best option. I mean, all of this would be terrible to choose. All the options are terrible to choose from because you're fighting a war in every scene of war. But I would choose the ground type because it seems like you would have a better chance of escaping. In the water, you drown. In space, there's no oxygen. And it's more likely that you'll die in space even if you try to evacuate or eject.
Yeah, and then let us know, what is your favorite Gundam? For me, I'm going with the Full Armor Gundam, Thunderbolt, and the Perfect Gundam that never got created, but I would want something like that.
Yeah, I can see that. I would say my favorite is also the Gundam from Thunderbolt and the one from Requiem for Vengeance. I like how the pilot moved in that suit.
Yeah.
That does it for our reaction to all Gundams of the 1 Year War and their pilots. Don't forget to leave your thoughts in the comment section. Also like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so that you'll never miss a video from Wade and Wade Reacts.
We're out of here.
Peace.